The summer dawn in Nashville felt strangely charged. Emily Carter, in her striking red dress, paused in the middle of her garden when a faint whimper rose from the grass. There, curled into a patch of dew, was one of 9 tiny German Shepherd puppies, small enough to fit perfectly in her palm. Fragile, trembling, yet its eyes shone with an eerie clarity, as if it already knew her. When Emily reached out, the tracking band on her wrist suddenly vibrated, flashing an unfamiliar coded signal she had never seen before. The smallest pup, Finn, lifted his tiny paw and set it gently on her wrist, wordlessly saying, "I came here for a reason." Emily held her breath, heart tightening, and the moment she whispered her first word, the entire garden fell silent. If you want to see what happens next, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the journey ahead. Nashville's outskirts simmered beneath a suffocating summer night, the kind where the air felt heavy enough to drag across the skin, thick with heat and humidity rising from the cracked asphalt and wild overgrowth. The moon cast a weak glow over the sprawling farmland, barely cutting through the haze. Even the cicadas, normally relentless in June, seemed exhausted, their buzzing faint and irregular. But the silence shattered as police sirens sliced through the oppressive darkness, shrieking across the empty fields like warnings of something long overdue. At the end of a dirt road riddled with potholes stood a decrepit, illegal breeding farm, a patchwork of rotting wood, rusted wire, and the unmistakable stench of ammonia, feces, and rust. As officers kicked open the sagging gate, dogs chained to metal posts barked in panic, their voices sharp with fear rather than aggression. Amid the chaos strode Sheriff Thomas Jackson, a man in his late 50s with a barrel chest, deep-set gray eyes, and a face furrowed by decades of witnessing cruelty he could not fully prevent. His sandy hair had thinned into a horseshoe pattern, and his sun-beaten skin told stories of long days spent outdoors, chasing cases that wore him down one file at a time. Despite his rough appearance, stubble shadowing his jaw, boots worn to the stitching, he treated every animal with a gentleness that contradicted his intimidating build. Years investigating animal cruelty had carved a permanent weariness into his posture. He walked like a man carrying invisible weight. Yet tonight, he made one call he always reserved for the gravest situations. "Emily," he muttered into the phone, his voice hoarse, "we need you here." Emily Carter arrived minutes later, stepping out of her black SUV into the sweltering night like a burst of color. At 32, she carried herself with the effortless poise of someone raised among wealth, not the showy kind, but the old money confidence etched into her posture. Her long mahogany brown hair fell in soft waves despite the humidity, framing a face of quiet severity, blue eyes sharp and observant, cheekbones sculpted, lips usually set in a reserved line. Tonight, though, her expression was drawn with concern. Emily was known across Tennessee as the founder of Shepherd's Haven, a privately funded rescue for German shepherds, though few understood that her devotion came from grief, not charity. She had withdrawn from public life after losing her fiancé, a K-9 officer, in a raid 3 years ago. Since then, she buried her pain under donations, work, and relentless self-containment. But the rescue center had become her only true heartbeat. Limping beside her was Rex, the 12-year-old German shepherd who once served as her fiancé's partner. Time had frosted his muzzle with silver, and arthritis bowed his back legs, but his deep amber eyes remained alert. His gait was uneven, yet he held himself with the dignity of a retired soldier, following Emily as if duty still bound them. They stepped through the barn's sagging doorway, immediately assaulted by the suffocating heat trapped under the rust-eaten tin roof. Broken fans lay on the floor like abandoned relics. The air reeked of decay. Emily pressed a hand against her mouth, her breath shallow. Sheriff Jackson motioned with a grim tilt of his head. "Back here." In the far corner, under a sheet of collapsed roofing, lay the body of a female German shepherd, once striking with her black and tan coat, now matted with dirt and sweat. Her frame was thin to the bone, ribs visible even beneath the grime, yet she had died in a protective curl, her body sheltering something beneath her. Emily knelt, her heartbeat thudding painfully in her chest. With trembling hands, she lifted the edge of the dog's stiff foreleg and gasped. 9 puppies, so tiny they could be mistaken for half-grown mice, were pressed together under their mother's cold belly. Their eyes were sealed shut, their fur damp with sweat and dirt, their breaths faint and uneven. Some twitched weakly, others barely moved at all. Emily's poised facade fractured instantly. She gathered the first newborn against her chest, her voice breaking into a soft, desperate whisper meant for no one but the universe. "Oh God, you poor babies." Rex lowered himself carefully beside her, curling his aging body around the shivering cluster. He exhaled warm breath over them, steady and rhythmic, becoming a living shield against the oppressive heat and the draft sneaking through the broken walls. One by one, Emily lifted each fragile pup from beneath their mother, her hands shaking uncontrollably as she cradled life that balanced on the knife edge of death. Sweat trickled down her temples, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. When she reached the 9th pup, she exhaled shakily, thinking she had finally accounted for them all. She stood, turning toward the exit, until Sheriff Jackson's low, unsettled voice reached her. "Emily," he called quietly, his tone stripped of all its usual authority. "Come take a look at this." He knelt at the farthest corner of the pen, lifting a filthy burlap sack with the tip of his flashlight. From beneath it, a faint sound trembled into the air, soft, thin, and unmistakably not a puppy's cry. Dawn crept over Nashville with no mercy, the sunrise blazing like a furnace rather than a blessing. The heat arrived early, rolling down from the hills and pooling around Emily Carter's glass-walled mansion, the kind of modern architectural jewel locals called the House on the Hill, a place meant for quiet luxury and curated solitude. But this morning, the mansion bore no resemblance to a sanctuary of wealth. Its pristine marble floors and minimalist furniture had transformed into a makeshift emergency ward, crowded with towels, heating lamps, open medical kits, and the trembling shadows of life clinging to survival. Emily moved with frantic purpose, her usual composure replaced by raw determination. Her silk robe was smeared with dirt and dried sweat from the night before. Her hazel-brown hair, normally styled with effortless elegance, clung to her temples. She had always been decisive: contracts, negotiations, press statements. But now her hands shook as she adjusted the heat lamp above the stainless steel table spread with 9 fragile bodies. Rex, the aging German shepherd at her side, limped closer to the table. Even in the glaring morning light, his graying fur and stiff posture emanated dignity. He positioned himself beside the pups like a sentinel, his breath warm and steady, his once powerful frame forming a protective semicircle around the smallest cluster. The calm in his old amber eyes contrasted sharply with Emily's trembling panic. The urgency of the situation demanded expertise beyond her instincts, and that was why she had made a second call that morning, to the only person who could navigate crises without flinching. The door burst open as Dr. Sarah Miller strode in, carrying a large medical bag slung across her shoulder. Sarah was in her mid-30s, tall and lean, with an athletic build shaped from long hours standing in clinics and rescue centers. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a tight ponytail, revealing sharp cheekbones and deep green eyes that saw straight through chaos. Freckles dusted her sun-kissed skin, a testament to countless field rescues across Tennessee's unforgiving summers. Unlike Emily, Sarah had no patience for polite formalities. Pragmatic, blunt, and often infuriatingly calm under pressure, she was the only person who could challenge Emily without being dismissed, and the only one Emily trusted enough to call family without admitting it aloud. "Move the towels closer. They're still losing heat," Sarah said, voice clipped but steady. She set her bag down, pulled on gloves, and leaned over the tiny bodies sprawled on the steel table. The puppies, black and tan German Shepherd newborns, huddled weakly against one another, their fur damp and patchy umbilical cords still clinging with dust. Their breaths were faint wisps, barely lifting their small rib cages. Emily obeyed instantly, her hands fumbling with the stack of warm towels she had pulled from the dryer minutes earlier. She tucked them around the pups, brushing her thumb gently across the smallest one with a whisper-soft plea. "Stay with me, please." Sarah worked quickly, checking pulses, clearing airways, wiping residue from their noses with sterile gauze. Her expression rarely shifted, but the slight tightening of her jaw revealed the truth. These puppies were fading. "Their body temperature is dangerously low," she muttered. "We need to warm them, hydrate them, then feed them slowly. If their glucose drops any lower—" "Just tell me what to do," Emily insisted. Her voice cracked, startling herself. She was not used to sounding afraid. They moved as a team, Sarah administering fluids with a tiny syringe, Emily preparing the milk replacer, Rex lying beside the table as though offering moral reinforcement. The room filled with the sterile scent of antiseptic clashing against the sweet warmth of puppy breath and heated towels. The air conditioning hummed weakly, unable to cut through the stifling humidity outside. For a moment, despite the frantic work, a fragile rhythm settled in the room, until it shattered. The smallest pup, barely bigger than Emily's palm, suddenly went still. Its mouth closed. Its chest stopped rising. The faint squeaks that had barely registered as life simply vanished. "Sarah," Emily whispered, panic tightening her throat. Sarah pressed her stethoscope to the pup's tiny chest, waited a second, and exhaled a defeated breath. "Emily, this one might not make it. Its heart—" "No." Emily's voice cut sharp. The memory slammed back. Her fiancé's final moments, Rex being carried away injured, the deafening silence after the radio went dead. She had lost too much. Too many lives. Too many battles she couldn't win. Not this time. She scooped the tiny, motionless body into her hands. Her fingers trembled violently as she began chest compressions, awkward, desperate, too strong for something so small. "Emily!" Sarah snapped. "You're pressing too hard. Stop! You'll hurt him!" But Emily continued, tears brimming at the edges of her usually composed eyes. "Come on! Come back! Don't leave me too!" And then, just as Sarah opened her mouth to say the terrible words, the puppy's body jerked. A tiny cough escaped, followed by a thin wail that cut through the room like a miracle. Emily gasped, her breath breaking into a sob. Rex let out a soft rumble of relief, nudging her elbow with his nose. Sarah stared for a moment, surprise flickering across her normally firm composure, before clearing her throat and returning to work. The crisis steadied. The puppies were still fragile, but they were alive. For now. Sarah grabbed a set of printed documents she had brought with her, her earlier confidence fading into reluctance. "Emily," she murmured, eyes scanning the blood results and microchip scans. "There's something you need to know about these 9 and the paperwork from that breeder." Emily looked up, still holding the revived puppy against her chest. "What is it?" Sarah hesitated, then exhaled. "If the prior owner fights for legal rights, they can claim them back. All 9. They could be separated, sold, or worse." The words hung in the humid air, suffocating as the heat outside. Emily's pulse quickened. "They can't. I won't let them." Sarah's expression was grim. "You may not have a choice." Nashville plunged into the height of summer with a heat that pressed against the skin like an iron. The air shimmered over the golden fields stretching behind Emily Carter's glass mansion. The grass scorched into brittle strands that crackled beneath the paws of 9 rapidly growing German Shepherd puppies. Cicadas screamed endlessly from the tree line, their chorus vibrating through the humid air. Despite the blistering heat, the backyard sanctuary behind the mansion was alive with movement. 9 figures, darting, tumbling, tripping, and wrestling across the dusty ground. The puppies had transformed in just a few weeks. Legs wobbly but strengthening, ears starting to perk upright, coats thickening into beautiful black and tan patterns. Emily had named them with typical American simplicity and warmth. Max, bold and impulsive. Daisy, gentle and observant. Cooper, the curious explorer. Luna, calm but mischievous behind her soft eyes. Rocky, the loudest complainer. Bella, sweet but stubborn. Duke, proud and steady. Milo, always hungry. And the tiniest survivor, Finn, now stronger but still small enough to curl beneath Emily's arm. They were a chaotic little army, and Rex, the elderly German shepherd with his silvered muzzle and slow, deliberate movements, ruled over them like a retired general with endless patience. The pups clambered over his back, nipped his tail, chewed his ears, and climbed onto his broad shoulders. Rex tolerated all of it with dignified resignation, only intervening when 2 puppies nipped too aggressively. With nothing more than a quiet grunt and a stern look, he restored order instantly. When he lay down in the shade, all 9 pups would eventually drift toward him, forming a warm, breathing pile of fur around their grand old commander. Emily watched these scenes with a softened heart, but the weight of reality sat heavily on her shoulders. Bills were accumulating: veterinary vaccinations, specialized food, medicine, repairs for the damaged fencing, and notices from the city about updated facility requirements for Shepherd's Haven. Though wealthy, Emily's assets were tied up in investments, long-term holdings, and charitable commitments. Cash flow was tight, and the rescue's expenses had exploded overnight with the arrival of 9 newborn lives. That afternoon, a letter arrived from the county office, an official warning that if additional fees, maintenance upgrades, and land taxes were not paid on time, Shepherd's Haven could be deemed non-compliant, threatened with forced closure. Emily sank onto the marble floor of her living room, surrounded by papers. Her blue eyes, normally cool and steady, now looked dim under the weight of responsibility. Rex approached quietly, resting his heavy head on her lap, while the 9 pups, exhausted from play, sprawled around the room like little fallen soldiers. Sarah Miller, the tall, athletic, sun-kissed veterinarian with sharp intelligence and even sharper honesty, watched the scene from the doorway. Her arms crossed, brows furrowed, not with judgment, but concern. Sarah had never been sentimental, but she cared deeply, fiercely, without announcing it. She saw Emily spiraling into silent panic, saw Rex pressing comfort against her, saw 9 tiny lives unwittingly depending on a woman who was breaking under the pressure. Without a word, Sarah stepped back, pulled out her phone, and pressed record. She framed the shot carefully. Emily sitting on the floor in her loose red summer dress, hair pulled up, face bare and tired. Rex lying close beside her with the dignity of a soldier standing guard, and the puppies curled around them like a fragile constellation of hope. After 30 silent seconds, Sarah typed a caption with steady fingers. They lost their mother. She lost her peace, and under the summer sun in Nashville, 1 dog and 9 pups are trying to build a new life. Will you help them keep their home? She posted it without letting Emily see. At first, nothing happened. A few likes, a couple of sympathetic comments. Emily, unaware of the upload, sighed hopelessly as she reviewed her bank statements. But inside Sarah's pocket, the phone buzzed. Then again, and again, and then in a rapid, continuous stream. Ping, ping, ping. $10, 20, 5. Messages appeared. From a German Shepherd lover in Texas. For the puppies! Sending love from Ohio. A group of retired canine handlers in California shared the video with thousands of followers. A German Shepherd fan page in Florida reposted it with the tag #SaveThe9. Donations surged with astonishing speed. Sarah's eyes widened as she opened her laptop to track the exploding numbers. Meanwhile, Emily walked the backyard with Rex at her side, staring at the land behind the mansion and wondering if she would need to sell part of the property to keep the rescue alive. She didn't hear the door slam open behind her. She only noticed when Sarah sprinted toward her, laptop in hand, blonde ponytail bouncing, freckles flushed with adrenaline. "Emily," she gasped, skidding to a halt, eyes shining with disbelief. "You need to see this." Emily frowned, confused, until she saw the donation numbers climbing like a rocket. Relief washed over her, but before she could process it, Sarah scrolled to the newest notification, a freshly received email. Its subject line read, "Offer to purchase Shepherd's Haven property and acquire all 9 German Shepherd puppies for a specialized training program." Emily felt her breath freeze in her chest. The message was from a large private security corporation, one she had never heard of. And they wanted everything. Everything. Nashville's summer heat finally began to loosen its grip as August drifted toward its end. The air still warm but less suffocating. The evenings touched by a faint breeze rolling down from the distant hills. Shepherd's Haven, once on the brink of collapse, now pulsed with cautious hope. Thanks to the viral video, Emily had managed to pay off the overdue taxes, the maintenance fees, and the safety upgrades demanded by the city. The property was safe, at least for now, and she had turned down the unsettling offer from the private security corporation. Something in the tone of their request, too polished, too hurried, felt wrong, like a hand reaching out not to help but to possess. Sheriff Jackson agreed. The sheriff, a broad-shouldered man in his late 50s with tired hazel eyes, sunburnt skin, and a soft belly earned from too many drive-through meals, carried the weight of decades of animal abuse cases. His empathy made him gentle. The horrors he'd seen made him vigilant. When he recommended partners for the 9 pups, His voice carried conviction. Nashville Police K-9 Division, a veteran PTSD service dog program, an animal-assisted therapy foundation for traumatized children. All were reputable. All were transparent. All would give the pups real futures. By now, the 9 German Shepherds were nearly 7 months old, legs long and sturdy, chests starting to broaden, ears mostly upright except for Milo's stubborn left tip. They were fast, intelligent, and brimming with youthful energy. Emily, Sarah, and a pair of volunteer trainers spent hours evaluating each pup's strengths. Max, Duke, and Rocky attacked bite sleeves with disciplined intensity, eyes sharp, bodies coiled like small athletes in training. Their confidence under pressure made them perfect candidates for K-9 service. Daisy, Luna, and Bella preferred people to obstacles, leaning into every touch, calming instantly when hearing emotional voices. Their sensitivity made them ideal for therapy work with veterans and children. Cooper and Milo excelled at scent games, weaving through search obstacles with impressive focus. Their noses were gifts meant for rescue missions. And then there was Finn. Still the smallest, still the most watchful. His fur darker than the others, his eyes curious, but always returning to Emily. He completed every task with clean precision, but instead of waiting for praise, he returned to her left side, always her left, studying her expression with quiet loyalty. Finn was not simply learning commands. He was reading her. But Emily dreaded what all this meant. She sat on the wooden porch one warm night, the sky glowing with fireflies. Rex lay beside her, the old shepherd's breathing slightly labored now, age tugging at his joints. Emily brushed her fingers through his graying fur. "Rex, if I let them go, am I losing them forever?" she whispered. "I already lost Mark. I don't know if I can lose anyone else." Rex lifted his head and rested it fully on her lap, releasing a low, warm breath, an answer without words. A few days later, Sarah arrived with the finalized partner list, sunglasses perched haphazardly on her messy blonde ponytail, clipboard under her arm. Sarah's tall, lean frame and brisk movements contrasted with her softer moments, ones she reserved only for dogs and very rarely for people. 8 organizations have confirmed, she announced. 8 pups already have placements pending final signatures. Her gray-green eyes shone with genuine pride. "Emily, this is good. They're going to change lives." Emily nodded but swallowed hard, her stomach tightening at the thought of goodbyes. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed on the table beside her. Unknown number. Law firm area code. She answered. "Emily Carter speaking." A man's voice came through, smooth, cold, rehearsed. The kind of voice belonging to someone who never smiled unless it benefited him. "Ms. Carter, I am calling on behalf of Mr. Douglas Havers, the previous owner of the breeding property." Emily's back straightened. The dogs from that property were seized under police supervision. Mr. Havers was arrested for illegal breeding and abuse. "Yes," the lawyer replied calmly, "but he never signed any surrender papers. Under Tennessee state law, unless there is explicit transfer of ownership, all animals remain the legal property of the original owner." Emily's pulse froze. Rex lifted his head, sensing her fear. "What are you implying?" she said tightly. "I'm saying," the lawyer continued, "that all 9 German Shepherd puppies currently housed at your facility still legally belong to Mr. Havers, and he fully intends to reclaim them." The world around Emily narrowed to a single, suffocating heartbeat. Behind her, The 9 pups played in the yard, innocent, unaware, their futures suddenly in jeopardy. She felt the ground shift beneath her. News of the legal dispute spread across Nashville, faster than the late summer heat rolling across the hills. What had begun as a quiet rescue story was now a wildfire on social media. People who had donated to Shepherd's Haven were furious. Comments poured in by the thousands, demanding justice. Veterans who had served with K-9 units posted video testimonies, describing the cruelty they had seen at illegal breeding farms. Former police handlers offered written statements. Even ordinary families who loved German Shepherds wrote emotional letters to the courthouse, pleading that the 9 pups be protected. Sheriff Jackson, normally a man of few words, stepped forward as a key witness. His presence in court was steadying. Broad shoulders, neatly trimmed mustache, uniform freshly pressed. Years of handling cases of animal neglect had carved quiet lines in his face. But today his hazel eyes burned with purpose. He supplied detailed arrest reports, photographic evidence from the raid, and prior records showing the breeder's repeated violations. Beside him stood Sarah, her blonde ponytail pulled tight, her tall frame tense but unshakable. She carried folders of medical documentation, malnutrition reports, photos of the pup's condition upon arrival, treatment logs. Every page was proof the dogs had been abandoned and abused. And then there was Emily Carter, for the first time in years standing in public not as a reclusive heiress, but as a guardian. Dressed in a simple red dress, she faced the courtroom with trembling hands, yet unwavering resolve. Finn sat obediently at her heel, his amber eyes alert, his growing body pressed close to her left side as if he sensed the importance of the moment. Across the aisle sat Douglas Havers, the former breeder, a man in his early 60s with thinning gray hair, a deeply lined face and a guarded stare. His posture was stiff, jaw clenched. He wore a suit too large for his wiry frame, an attempt to appear respectable that fooled no one. His past offenses weighed heavily, even if he refused to meet anyone's eyes. The lawyer representing him, Clifford Ames, was a sharp-featured man with a calculating gaze and slicked-back dark hair. His tone was cold, rehearsed, every word engineered to manipulate technicalities. But in this courtroom, facts beat theatrics. The hearing stretched for hours. Outside, the Tennessee sun beat down relentlessly, but inside something heavier hung over the room, the collective breath of hundreds waiting for a verdict. When the judge finally entered with the written order, silence fell like a held breath. The judge, a woman in her late 40s with calm brown eyes and a voice smooth but firm, read the decision clearly. The previous owner is permanently stripped of all rights to possess animals. All 9 German Shepherd puppies are legally entrusted to Emily Carter and Shepherd's Haven. A ripple of relief crossed the room. Soft claps, sighs, quiet cheers. Sheriff Jackson allowed himself a rare smile. Sarah blinked hard, tears sliding down her cheeks. Emily stood motionless for a beat, trying to believe the words she had just heard. Finn broke the tension by gently nudging her hand with his nose, as if reminding her to breathe. What followed was bittersweet. The official placement organizations arrived one by one. Max, Duke, and Rocky leaped into the back of the K-9 transport vehicle, their strong builds and confident strides earning approving nods from the officers. They would walk dangerous roads, but noble ones. Daisy, Luna, and Bella were taken to a therapy center where children touched by trauma waited for gentle souls to guide them. Their handlers, a pair of warm-hearted therapists, were already in love with them. Cooper and Milo boarded a van belonging to the state's search and rescue team. Their enthusiastic barking echoed across the yard as if announcing their readiness for heroic missions. And suddenly, Shepherd's Haven felt empty. The sun dipped low, brushing the ground with honey gold light, illuminating paw prints that would soon fade. Emily stood in the silence, her heart aching with pride and loss. 2 dogs remained, Rex and Finn. Rex, old and weary, walked slower now. Each step seemed to carry the weight of another summer he wouldn't see. One evening, as the heat finally softened into a cool breeze, Emily led him and Finn to the rise behind the home, the hill that overlooked the entire property. It was the same place Rex once sat guarding the pups. Rex lay down on the warm earth, looking over his kingdom one last time. Finn curled beside him, leaning into the old dog for warmth and offering comfort in return. Emily sat with them, her eyes full and quiet. She knew. Rex passed peacefully in his sleep beneath the golden Nashville sunset. Emily buried him under the tallest oak, marking the place with a simple stone. Rex, end of watch. You didn't just guard a house. You guarded a heart. Finn remained at her side from that moment on. The once tiny pup she had revived now walked with confident purpose, always at her left heel, always watching. Shepherd's Haven transformed. No longer a wealthy woman's hobby, it became a sanctuary of hope, its wooden sign freshly hung. Shepherd's Haven, where broken souls get a new mission. Sarah arrived carrying new rescue files. Sheriff Jackson came by with coffee and news of another group of shepherds needing help from a nearby state. Emily glanced down at Finn. He lifted his head, tail wagging slowly, ready. They stepped off the porch together, not running from the past, but moving toward the lives waiting to be saved. In the quiet glow of that Nashville summer, as Rex rested beneath the old oak and Finn stepped forward to begin his new mission, a truth whispered through Shepherd's Haven. Sometimes, the greatest miracles are delivered not in thunder, but in soft paws, warm eyes, and fragile lives placed in our path. Many people believe God sends us certain souls exactly when our hearts are most broken. Sometimes those souls arrive in uniforms, sometimes in memories, and sometimes they arrive wrapped in fur, trembling in our hands, asking only for a chance to love and be loved. Emily thought she was saving 9 shepherds, but in truth, they were the ones God sent to save her. And just like her, each of us walks through days heavy with burdens, losses we don't speak about, fears we hide, battles no one else can see. But miracles appear when we open our doors, our hands, and our hearts. If this story touched you, share it with someone who might need a reminder that their miracle may already be on its way. If you believe in second chances, in healing, in the quiet way God guides our steps, leave a comment below. Say Amen, or share your own story of hope. And if you want to walk with us through more journeys like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join this growing family of kindness and faith. May God bless you, protect your home, soften your worries, and send you, just as He did for Emily, the miracle you need at exactly the moment you need it. Amen.